Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 7th day of May, 2020. My mother, when she was alive, her birthday was on the 8th. So we'd always celebrate my mother's birthday, and then usually the following, like a week later or so, would be Mother's Day. So she always got presents galore in May. So anyway, moon's still in the 5th house Scorpio. 5th house simply because of the hour that I'm doing this. It moves throughout the morning, moves throughout the day, realistically. And basically, there it is. I was looking for my box of Kleenex. So I have some just in case. Still quite stuffy from all the juniper pollen that's out there. I had no idea when we moved here that I would become allergic, but it takes about 5 years to acclimate, they say. And sure enough, right about 5 years along, that's when I started really noticing that I was developing allergies, and it's actually moved into not just juniper but cut grass. That bothers me too. So when my husband mows the yard, I have to have the windows closed. Fortunately, we have air conditioning, we have a heat pump, so it's not like I'm going to die in the summertime from the heat, but at the same time, I was never that way as a kid. And so I don't know what it is about, the high desert, but there's something here that's triggered the allergies. And so there you go. But anyway, with the moon being in Scorpio, we're going to want to avoid conflict still and consider the deeper meaning of life. Let me look real quick here and see if it's going to actually change today or not. No, wait, where are we at? No, it's not going to move into Sagittarius until tomorrow. So, okay. So I was going to say, unless of course it's a split energy today, but that won't take place until tomorrow. There won't be that transitional energy until then. Focus will still stay strong though. It just takes a little bit different form when it moves from Scorpio to Sagittarius. Moon opposed Mercury right now, though. Think before you speak and consider the effect you have on other people. If everybody's feeling out of sorts because of their emotions today, it's going to pass. And so maybe consider avoiding, rising to the bait, taking the challenge, whatever. If you feel like somebody is not being straight with you or whatever, it could just be a function of the moment. So kind of, be a little gentle today. Moon trine Neptune. Take an inner focus if you can. Don't be so, maybe try not to interact as much if things are just too, if you're just feeling, in other words, if you're feeling too fussy, just sort of keep to yourself today. Sun still 11th house Taurus. So, Taurus is going to bring about structural concerns, foundation, routine, all of that, home and hearth. Within the 11th house, we're going to be reassessing goals with friends. We'll be doing that, of course, safely at a distance, either online or with some space between us and protected with masks and gloves and all of that. Let's see. Most everything is the same. Again, Venus is still squaring Neptune. So situations that people may be confusing right now, and if you couple that with the moon in Scorpio, you might be able to understand why. Again, if you're just feeling out of sorts, it wouldn't it be lovely if people just left you alone and didn't bother you about it, didn't judge you for it, didn't, So extend that to others, because you know how that feels. Everyone does. It's like, oh God, just leave me alone. Don't focus on my on my bad mood, or I'm upset. Just don't focus on me. Just leave me alone. Go away. I'll be fine in a little while. It's one of those kinds of days. So keep an open mind and maybe avoid making big decisions right now. The same planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, still in the 8th house. Different Capricorn, and it's in Capricorn for both Juno and Pluto, but Aquarius for Saturn. But again, joint endeavors, joint interactions are sort of in focus right now. And again, if you're feeling out of sorts, just take a back seat and just put things on hold, just big decisions, things like that. Just put it all on hold. Saturn in conjunct the North Node is still in effect. And I think it's an important one, and I think that it is one of the underlying things that we're all dealing with right now. Anytime you have something imposed on you, even if you're agreeing to it, it's like you have this sense of resignation, but you also have this sense of wonder about what else could be. And so I think that for the foreseeable future, what may come out of this pandemic, and likely should, is maybe a reassessment of relationships that maybe have taken you to a place that's not sustainable, or maybe you've gotten involved with groups that really don't have your best interests at heart. They're just there for the sake of the group itself, not because there's really anything going on that's productive within it. So I think that when we start looking at what really needs to be, I was talking to my husband yesterday about this, and I suggested that it may be that lots of people will begin homeschooling. Lots of people will begin working from home. Maybe how we engage in this country will be different going forward. We may see the benefit of universal basic income, for example, and decide that that's what we're going to do. Now, that's not going to happen tomorrow, clearly, but you can understand how within something like this, if we never, what if the climate has changed to the point that this kind of stuff is going to be just what we cope with going forward? Should that be the case, then you would likely see, you would have to have some level of income provided so that you can then, go out and do what you need to do in a way that's safe, and you don't have to worry about making ends meet. And so, because I think that that's what's really driving some of this reopening of the country, is that we're just worried about, well, what's my life going to look like if I can't pay my bills? It's just a part of everything. But right now, it's a time to look at the spiritual side of things. Chiron's in the 11th house Aries. Woundings may be more deeply experienced in groups, but don't fear the group, because it can also open up healing opportunities for you and healing potential. So I don't know. I just think that this is a time for reflection, not only for staying safe, but to try to figure out who we are to one another, where we're going. Is the chaos of the day, is that really going to yield anything better? My view is no, it's just the chaos of the day, and it's just destructive. There's nothing better that's on the horizon during this distracting moment of chaos. No, it's just chaos. This is just what it is. It's not anything that's happening behind the scenes so that the bad guys are taken down. That's not what's going on here. We're unfortunately living within the delusion of someone who's too unfit to be there, and whoever the people are that are controlling him, because there are people controlling him, all to the detriment of our country. So I don't know, this is a time from where we need to reflect on where we are and to be open to change and new experiences, and to break free from old patterns of belief and perception. We can no longer afford to see one another as the other. We now have to understand that humanity is one big energetic entity, collective in nature. When we're not in these bodies, we are one energy. So we need to understand that we are here as well, and that being at loggerheads with one another and being in so much conflict doesn't make any sense. So you have to look at it and say, well, who's doing it? Is it really coming from things inside us, or is it being caused by someone else and directed by someone else? And I think it's the latter. I really do. I think that it's an orchestrated and manufactured grievance that exists, and I don't think it's real. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started with the cards. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. And check out the blog, Stepping Aside, over at imsteppingaside.com. Stuff goes up there most every day. I do esoteric influences for the week, so that's going to go up here in the next couple of days. Also, I did something on medium last night. I did a couple things. One, I can't think of the name of the other one that I did. I did another one yesterday morning, but one I did last night was on being a warrior. That's what it's called, on being a warrior, since we're now being tasked with being a warrior. Let's talk about what that really is. And so if you want to check that out, it actually turned out pretty well. So, but I did that one last night. I also did another one in the morning, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what it is. I wonder if I wrote it down here. Maybe I did. No, I did the other one. I wonder if I put it in my book here. Let me look and see, because there was another one I did, and I don't know. I did His ignorance cannot be our undoing, but I did another one. Nope, I just said I did a medium post. Well, I think I did two. At least I'm pretty sure I did two. Maybe it was the other morning, but I don't think so. I think that I did one yesterday morning too. I just can't remember what it was. Well, in any event, when I do the checking in video, I'll look before I do that, and I'll see what it was. Anyhow, check out that over there. I don't think I did anything separate on the Patreon page, but yeah, I don't think I did there, but I think I posted the video over there. So in any event, links to all that are below the video here, so if you want to check all that out, you sure can. I'd sure love you to do that. We don't need that. Let me get rid of those. So, okay, let's go ahead and take our first three cards and see what we have for today. And as always, I'm going to take the 13th one each time for randomness sake. In normal readings, I don't do that. I just shuffle and lay out cards. But for this, I just like everything to be really random. In other words, I want to take my own influence out of it, right? Because maybe I didn't shuffle enough, that sort of thing. So we have the Ten of Swords. The light is returning. We can go no further. Our thoughts have, run the gamut, and I don't know. We're kind of the darkest before the dawn kind of experience there, isn't it? I think that, you're well, in any event. Oh, definitely. Okay. End of illusion. So here we have the Ace of Wands. Yeah. We have a hand reaching out from the clouds, a familiar theme in tarot. And what we're doing there is it's a new expression of will or creativity. Yeah. Here's the thing. I talked about that we need to, kind of reevaluate our perception, our relationships, all of that, our belief structure. We're in an energetic shift right now and they call it ascension. I'm sure that ascension involves a whole lot more things that are a little more complicated than just a change of thinking, but realistically, it's remembering who we are as source presence and having that impact our day instead of the ego's, viewpoint of everything impacting our day. I think that what we're looking at with the Ten of Swords then is we're looking at something that is the end of illusion, the end of thoughts that took us in a place that were never going to be productive. You can think of it as reason run mad, but I don't think so. Given that it's the 10, you're talking a numerology of 1 or new beginnings. And so I think when you also see the energy of the 1 with the Ace of Wands, you're talking about the genesis of something new. And letting go of thoughts and perceptions that no longer serve us. Let's look at the last card. Well, here we have another 10. So, okay, 10 of Cups. So 10 of Swords and 10 of Cups are going to surround the Ace. If there's an order to this, it's going to be the 10 of Swords, the Ace of Wands, and the 10 of Cups, where we let go of illusion. I mean, there's nothing else, right? And he's dead on the ground. So it's over. The illusion is over that we've been operating under, the misperception of things. I mean, could anybody have imagined that people would have viewed having to shelter in place because we're trying to stay well and to stop the spread of the pandemic? Could you ever imagine people rising up against that and somehow believing that they're being harmed by it? I mean, definitely, oops, about lost my computer there. Sorry for the little earthquake. Definitely what we have is a change in our circumstances, but had the government, the federal government, been ready and taken care of this, if the president would have instructed that, we would have, the money would have been flowing to people and the bills would be getting paid and we could settle down about this. But they didn't do that. Had they done that, we would all be in a very different place. But that's not what they did. And so now we're having to run to catch up. And the money that people need to live on, we've still not received a stimulus check. Not at all, nothing. So you know, we're going to be okay. But the point is, not everybody's received their stimulus check. And it's only $1,200. What's that going to buy? Certainly not going to pay the rent. Or make a house payment, not with what those are these days. So, I mean, it could buy you some food, but if you've got a family to support, that's all it's going to do. And you're going to have to be extraordinarily careful. No matter what our Treasury Secretary says, it's not going to happen. So again, let go of the illusion that there's anybody there, the federal government, that's going to save us, because they're not. Different administration? Oh, you bet. This is an anomaly. This is a convergence of many, many dark forces that are coming together to get something for themselves at the expense of everybody else. That's what this is. And it's what it's always been. Excuse me, it's what it's always been. At the end of the day, though, you know, there has to be a shift in perception about all of it and understand just exactly where the truth lies about everything. Because that's the other thing here, you know, the end of deception. You know, contained within swords, it's the air element, so it's our intellect. Well, there's your deception at work. And we're just done with it. You know, the light is returning. You can see the sun isn't up yet, but the night is lifting, isn't it? Emotions have settled. I'll do this one more time. You can see the water there is literally, let's look to be sure, but it looks smooth as glass. Yep. So, you know, emotions have all settled. Everything is settled. Everything is calm and still. Enter the Ace of Wands. Catalytic, exciting, willful, creative. Out of the cloud of deception, because it's not a white cloud, is it? It's dark. So out of that billowy cloud, a hand reaches forth with a crude club, signifying the will and the suit of wands and the fire element. It comes through with force because you can see some of the leaves are being shaken off as it comes forth, right? So the force of will to bring about change, to bring about something else. And what would that be? If we do it right, love and abundance, emotional fulfillment, the family being secure and happy and fulfilled. Energetically, we have a 3 energy here. We might do one more card. I don't know. Let me think about it, though. Energetically, we have a 3, or mind, body, spirit balance, or catalytic presence, or, you know, anything like that. We have a 7 energy for today, though. And in a way, we sort of have a visual depiction of it. I'm going to hold them up this way. You can see with the ace being the center point, the resting point of the scales. And then we're having to balance letting go of illusion so that we can then be happy. What do you want? Do you want the illusion? You want the conflict? You want the separation and division? You want the negative experience? Or do you want the positive experience where we have love and fulfillment and fellowship with one another, coming together in unity and shared purpose? This doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's not the doing of the mom and the dad. This happens collectively in someone's life through the support of family, friends, coworkers, community. When we can raise us all up in a way that preserves life, could you ever imagine that the necessary masks and ventilators would be argued about and not given to those who needed it? Could you ever imagine that? Could you ever imagine a man so broken that he cannot hear nurses yesterday at the White House on, what is it, National Nurses Day, or so, I don't know what the heck it was, National Nurse Appreciation Day. I'm not sure what it was called, but when they're saying, it was manageable, but we don't have the supplies we need, he just right away, basically tells them, well, maybe for you, but not for anyone else. Not what I'm hearing. It's that need to do this. It's that need to defend himself against the indefensible. He doesn't care, or he lacks the mental capacity to understand. It's one of the two. Either way, those poor nurses, they're to be appreciated, which was never going to happen. They walked into him being him and being hurtful and harmful and demeaning, which is what he does, particularly if it's women. Did you ever think that that would be his focus, his ratings would be his focus now, instead of making sure people don't die? Because this is not his problem, folks. He said it. Well, why didn't you've been here 3 years, what have you been doing? Well, I had other things to do. Well, what? Firing the pandemic team? Not selling off our supplies? Who pocketed the money? I bet we didn't. Who pocketed the money? No. There has to be a level of will that comes into play that lets go of illusion and embraces fundamental harmony and unity. It's our only way out of this. If we continually fight against one another. I saw this big long thread yesterday from this woman, young woman, apparently a homeschool mom, which I find horrifying because I was a homeschool mom. But we didn't do it for sovereignty reasons or religious reasons. My kids were gifted. I just didn't think they were getting what they needed. So we talked to some folks and we just decided this would be the better option, and it was. And, they ended up going to college and graduating, and I don't know, making more money than we ever did. So I don't know, I think there's lots of ways to do it, and that's what we did. But anyway, she went on this big long rant about how she's not going to self-isolate. She and her kids are going to go and do whatever they want to do, not going to wear a mask, not going to wear gloves, doesn't care if she infects anyone else, doesn't care. If you want to do that, that's fine, but I'm not going to stay away from you. In other words, I'm not going to, none of these things that were supposed to happen. It's like she misses the bigger picture. And as a homeschool mom, boy, you better not be missing any bigger picture. But she misses the bigger picture that it's the people in charge who did this. And that if we could just simply go on without them and develop a plan that we all obey and live with until we can get through this, it would be a very different picture, but she doesn't see it. But And that's what I think when we're talking about reevaluating our perceptions, she clearly needs to do that because she doesn't get this at all. It's like, oh, well, because this and this and this, I'm not going to do this. It's like recognize what the problems are. And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater because one of your kids could get sick. Because, yeah, it infects kids too. So don't think it doesn't. Don't think that they're safe. Don't ever think your children are safe from this. Don't, protect them. That's why we're doing this, all right? We have to bring about a different level of will, one that comes from spirit, not one that is willful from ego, right? So I really think that this is a very simple choice to make. We just, apparently, some of us lack the will to make it. And so I think, again, we're looking at the astrology. There's my room bag. We're looking at the astrology, and again, it just seems to still be saying roughly the same thing, that things are in flux, and we're going to be rethinking stuff. And where we come down on that is likely going to help define our way forward. Because if we're going to continue to allow ourselves to be manipulated by other people, thinking that, they're on our side and we're doing the right thing. No, we're not. We're being used. We're being manipulated. This whole thing is one big scam on the American people. So what have we got here? Have we got Gebo or have we got not these? I think that this is Gebo. I don't think it's not these. But I'm going to look just to be sure. Because if it's not these, then we're talking a Norn rune. No, it's Gebo, because there's not these. You can see the difference. You see how it's a slanted line? Well, depending on how you turn this, so's this. But what this is Gebo. So we're talking balanced energy exchange with others, and that's really what the reading is all about. It's about letting go of perceptions that are keeping us apart and keeping us focused on a man who's just either sadistic or demented, one of the two. Either not playing with a full deck or worse yet, he is. And it's sadism that's driving all of this. But, we won't survive that. We just won't. The damage that he will do and has done has been so great so far, that if we don't have a new expression of will that's focusing on balanced energy exchange with others, and I'll draw this one out so you see what this is made up of. It isn't just X marks the spot. But, Gebo is also, is it the 7th? If it is, then it aligns with today. Yeah, it's the 7th rune of the Elder Futh arc. But what it is it's Kenaz, the 6th rune, or the light of spirit in all directions. When you explode it out, that's what you're looking at. And so it's not ego that informs that whole notion of shared purpose or balanced energy exchange with others. That comes from spirit. That comes from the truth of who we actually are. That's the motivating force. Ego is never about union. Ego is always about separation and individuality at the expense of other individuals. It's never inclusive. And I think that what you're seeing right now is a man so broken that all he can do is divide and keep everybody at each other's throats. It's just what he does. It's the only thing he can do because he's caused so much chaos. He doesn't want to be responsible for any of it. And so he blames everybody else or just redefines the narrative. That's the most amazing part of this, I guess, is the redefining of the narrative every single solitary second of every single day. Oh, this is interesting. Yesterday we had Pure. Today we have Puella. It's complement. Pure yesterday was little boy energy. Well, this is just little girl energy. And for our geomancy rune of the day. So this is a little bit more, as opposed to yesterday's little boy energy, which was, lack of impulse control. There's lack of impulse control with Puella as well. But it's more of a flighty little girl energy. And so I would have been a Puella growing up because I was flighty. I mean, my hands were always moving. I'm chattering. I'm, here, there, everywhere. Little Miss Empath, noticing everything. Little Miss Little Witchling, noticing everything. And so consequently, I was, the flighty little girl that my mother would always have to say, okay, settle down, because I was everywhere all at once. And it's not a negative energy necessarily. It's just one that kind of has a hard time settling down. So it's kind of jumpy. If you're talking about this in terms of the moon in Scorpio right now, then you're probably just talking maybe energy that's just a little too, you've lost your focus basically. So you're missing some focus and you're just, not really stable. But the point is, we can look at the negative effect of this, or we can look at it as a loosening of energy and a restructuring when the will comes in. When the will comes in and takes hold, the Puella energy has to dissolve into the control of spirit, okay? And there we let go of things that no longer serve us, and we move forward into unity with one another. The rainbow above, the 10 energy, which is a 1 energy of new beginnings and wholeness and unity and love and support. And it's almost like they're ready to get back to life life is getting back to normal for them. There's that feeling that if we can let go of the things that divide us, that we can get back to some semblance of normal. Because when we do that, you see, we're all going in the same direction, and whatever's, harming us can find no purchase at that point. So that's all anybody's ever been saying. So to the woman the mom who doesn't quite understand this, I said something to her. I don't know. One of the things she said is, if you want to call me a grandma killer, go ahead. Well, I'm a grandma. And I'd like to live to be able to see my granddaughter again someday. So I haven't seen her in a long time. So I miss her. And the idea that there are people in this country that don't care if I live or die, that just is shocking. So let go of that which no longer serves you, because that doesn't. Invoke your will. Invoke the change that needs to happen, and move forward in shared purpose with all, so that we get out of this and survive this in one piece. Balanced energy exchange with others, letting the light of spirit inform the whole thing. Resonating from there as opposed to resonating in ego. We got enough of a problem with the ego in the White House. We don't need to add to that by having our own issues. Little Miss Homeschool Mom, who doesn't care if she's a grandma killer. Because I'm not going to stop doing what I want to do. It's the "you're not the boss of me" thing that's going on right now. It's like, did you ever think you'd see that from adults? Anyhow, I guess that's it. And it's it for the week, too. This is Thursday, isn't it? Yep, it's Thursday. So I won't see you again until Monday. I am going to put the esoteric influences up. I did not do the tarot for the month. I didn't do the geomancy for the month. I think I'm going to do that differently. I think I want to do a weekly tarot reading, maybe, instead of trying to do it for the whole month. Because I think that on the other hand, though, I'm doing the esoteric influences for the week. So I don't know that it's even necessary, especially with doing it here. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just do some spot readings that I write up or something. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know what I'm going to do. Things are in flux on the blog right now. And so I periodically, I'll change things up. I go along for a while. I do series. I do this and that, the same thing. The correspondences and astrological information in this will continue to go up the days that I do them. I don't do the correspondences every day, but I do them most days. So if you're working magic, that's one thing you can look at. If you don't want to, you can just use it as a cheat sheet, basically. Tells you what the current astrological forecast from an esoteric standpoint is, excuse me, and then what we have is then below that are the magical correspondences for the particular day. So you see you can just take what you need from it to figure out how you want to shore up your magic and all of that for whatever spell you're working. So anyway, that's what I do that for. It's just just sort of to blend the current outlook with the correspondences for the day. So anyway, when we work magic, we like to look at things like that. So today's the full moon. It's full moon in Scorpio, I believe, and it's just going to be, you know, it was beautiful last night. Maiden was last night. You know, just go out and enjoy the draw of the moon. You know, when it's at its fullness, it's at its most. The pull is at its greatest, really, as far as I'm concerned. Irrespective of how you see the moon, whether you think it's a hollowed out spaceship or if you think it's an actual planetary body, it does have an effect either way on our emotions and on cycles and all of that, on the tides. And since we're mostly water, you know, it has an effect on our tides, so our inner tides. So anyway, I guess that's it. You know, stay safe this weekend. If you have to go out, wear a mask and gloves. You know, take your spray bottle with you of alcohol solution or whatever, and just stay as safe as you can. You're not doing it for just yourself. You're doing it for others as well. You're doing it for people like me. You're doing it for the children out there that you know, may not be quite so immune from all of this. So we just have to be aware. We don't know till we know. And until we get on the other side of this, I don't think that it makes any sense to come up with anything too hard and fast about it until, unless it has to do with simply being safe. That you can't, you know, make a mistake there. You know, if you stay protected, stay home if you can. If you have to go out, you know, we're going out every 2 weeks roughly, unless we're fixing our tractors. So sometimes we have to go pick up something, but when we do, we're in masks and gloves and we spray everything down. Anything that comes in freight-wise gets sprayed down. Anything that comes from the grocery store gets sprayed down with alcohol solution. We're just trying to, and we're not only doing it for ourselves, but we're doing it for anyone else we come into contact with. You know, if you want to be the warrior in all of this, do that. That's the true warrior spirit. It's being able to think about others beyond yourself at a time when they need us to do that, right? Where people are depending on other people to be safe so that they stay well. And when that doesn't happen, it's awful. I've experienced it this whole time here where I live, where too many people are out there in businesses and customers not wearing masks and gloves. And so I'm hoping that going forward here, when I walk into a business, I'm going to see their staff in masks and gloves, and not just at senior hour, but all the time. This is nuts to do this any other way. It's not asking too much. It just isn't. And if it is, then think about it. Change your heart. You're on the wrong track. So, in any event, I'll check in, watch for the other little checking in videos. Oh, I started a thing over on Vimeo. I've been posting those things over there too, not just on Instagram, but on Vimeo as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I may not do anything with it, but I don't have a paid account, so I can only have so much go up there every week, and it's like 500 meg or something, so not much can go up there. But anyway, I just thought it might be fun to try, so I did, and that's what I'm doing. So anyway, like I said, things are in flux. I don't know what it's all going to look like. I've always viewed my blog and what I'm doing here as a work in progress. I am, though, one thing I am going to do, though, is I'm going to do a video in the Foundations of Magic series on how to create a geomantic shield chart. So I'm going to show you how geomancy is done. So watch for that. Usually they've been going up over on Patreon first, but I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. I think I'm just going to go ahead and release them to everybody on both the blog and here on YouTube. So I release them eventually, like a month later, but I'm not going to do that this time. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And and just release it or just right away. So I'll get that going. I'll get that written up, and maybe I'll record it this weekend. I don't know, this weekend or sometime next week, but maybe this weekend's probably the best time. And so look for that to come up. Also, more esoteric influences are going to go up. They'll be up on Sunday at the latest because they go from Sunday to Saturday. So check that out. And again, watch for my stuff to come up on Medium. I'm writing more there, specifically there, as opposed to just cross-posting things. Although I cross-posted. I don't know if it was the one thing. I think it was the Warrior that I cross-posted. The Warrior piece I cross-posted last night. So one I wrote for them in the morning. I just can't remember what it was. So anyway, I'll look and I'll say it in the checking in video. So anyway, thanks so much for coming by. I hope you click subscribe and come back. I'd love for you to do that. And have a good weekend and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.